Hopefully that's okay. Okay, so flashy stuff. Select that folder, and then we'll call this. Oh, sorry. I forgot that I created a Twitch folder. Where is it? Twitch. There we go. And that way it can be just the today's date. So 11/6/2021. Project names must begin with characters. Okay. Flash. I feel like the other ones didn't, but maybe I'm crazy. Okay. Create project. No starter content. All right. Here we go. So, so I was going over with one of my mentees how you can do kind of impacts and kind of flash effects. And then I kind of started to generate some more ideas for myself on how to do that really simply and without a lot of like you know extra work in other programs and stuff. Just like trying to stick in Unreal Engine as long as you can. And so we're going to build a super simple procedural shader, and that'll be for our Flash. And then we'll talk a little bit about Trails. So first things first, I'm going to just create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Particles. And I am recording, which is great, and I'm streaming, and that's good. Hey, mate, finally able to make it. Oh, awesome. Good to see you, Ati. Let me, oh, new folder. New folder, we're going to call this Particles, and in Particles, we're just going to create a new effects Niagara emitter, and we're going to use a template, directional burst, and I'll tell you exactly why we're going to do that. But we're going to name it ps underscore flash emitter. And what's cool about Niagara is you can right click and say create Niagara system, and that creates a system for that houses the emitter you just created, right? So we can drop the emitter in world, and we'll do some more stuff to this. So we'll just call that flash system. We'll drop the system in world, and if we hit F to zoom in, and we pull it up a little bit off the ground, I have to zoom in. Let's bring this down a little bit. And we hit Q, or I'm sorry, question mark, it'll play our effect. And if we hit G to hide all of the widgets, you'll just see it as is. That's kind of like showering sparks, and that's great. That's a good start to what it is we're trying to do. So first things first, I am gonna, because I'm a tenured game developer and I know how this stuff goes, I'm gonna create a maps folder, and in maps I'm gonna save current as. I'm gonna just call this demo space demo underscore map, and save that, and then I can do a save all, and now we're not going to lose anything. So F again to zoom in, and again, question mark, question mark, question mark, we get particles, and that's what we want. So instead of the particles we're seeing now, we'll open this Niagara system up, and anybody who has questions or anything, as always, just go ahead and stop me. It's all good. We're just hanging today. So we'll zoom into the properties here. So a tried and true trick for kind of a big bang flashy situation is to turn your sprites that are kind of firing in all directions into velocity driven, and the reason for that is because we want our flash to kind of be omnidirectional, and so they'll sort of render in the direction or point in the direction of their velocity. And directional burst is already set up that way, right? So alignment is velocity aligned. That's what we want here. Other things we probably want to do here is make the cone angle 360 degrees, and that'll, let's see. Oh, it's, yeah. So if we do 100% up and 0 out. So we're going to get kind of a flatness there. We probably want Niagara. Sorry, we want random. So like a 0 to 1, and that way it goes everywhere. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Okay, kind of a kind of looks like a firework explosion, right? That's kind of cool, huh? So next up, we want to change our velocity. I want to make sure there's nothing else happening here. So we don't need drag for what it is I'm about to do, or gravity force. We just need, so now all the particles are kind of going in their direction, which is great. We just need velocity itself. Now this velocity is too high, and I'm going to tell you why. We're gonna get rid of the random here, and just do. So now the particles aren't firing out, right? Because they're velocity aligned, and there's no velocity. So we got to give it some. But what we're going to do is give it just a little velocity, like a value of 1 maybe. And if we zoom in, all those particles are pointing the direction they should be, just like they were before. They're just not traveling outward. And that's what we want. We want to kind of almost still velocity. And what we'll do here is we'll change these non-uniform sprites to be longer, considerably longer, like 100, right? 100. So now you're starting to see what it is I'm working on here. It looks kind of like kind of a mini kind of flash explosion, right? So bang. We might do some random. So bang, right? And we might change the kind of the thickness, the width a little bit. That's probably too fat. 15? Yeah, so bang, right? That's kind of what we're looking for here. They live too long. They live a little too long. So if you go to initial particle in Niagara, you can come here to lifetime mode, and they're random, but the length of time, 1.75 seconds, is maybe a little too long for us. So maybe we'll do like a 0.5 to like a 0.3. So like bang, bang, right? So that's kind of cool. It's very simple, not too complicated at all. We're just looking for something that feels kind of like boom. And let's get a good sense of like how large that looks in Engine, because we don't want to work too big. You always want to kind of have something to reference. Like this is our height over here in game, kind of rolling around. And so if this thing is like 6 times our height, that might be kind of too big for what we're thinking about here. So if we select our particle system and we hit question mark, let's hit G to hide everything, all the widgets, and then hit question mark. Yeah, it's not bad. I think I want some more random in the longer pins, the longer pips is what I called them. And it's funny, I was talking with one of my mentees this week, and I told, oh hey Zergling, happy Saturday. And I told them that a lot of effects artists call these kind of directional pointing explosion pieces pips. And I'm not sure if that's actually true. I know a lot of the effects artists I know call them that, but you know, if you call them something different, tell me in the chat. I'd love to know what you call them whenever you make them. These kind of directional pieces that sort of go out and radiate in every direction. I kind of want the longest ones to be significantly longer, and I kind of want less particles too. So if we come over here to spawn burst, we're spawning 75 of them. That was like the default setting. So let's change it to like 40, right? So one of the things we could do to get the most out of our sprites as well, and we're still using the default sprite that the engine, the default material the engine throws on particles when they're first created. But just to get a sense, we just want to right? It's pretty good. It's not bad. Um, we're just looking for something probably a little softer on the ends. And so we'll make a material that facilitates that here in a second. Um, I just want to make sure we're good about some of these values. Maybe they, bang, bang. I want a little variation, so 0.25. Bang. One thing I want to add too is some sparks and some other stuff. Sometimes when I'm making effects, I try to, oh, you call it spark, flash frame. Okay, yeah. I'm more talking about like, when you make a material that's got kind of like the muzzle flash spiky bits. I don't know if that's seen in the camera, the spiky bits, and they kind of go omnidirectional, and it kind of denotes like the first couple moments of an explosion. That's kind of what I'm talking about. The big kind of crossing spiky bits that radiate from the center. I'll draw some out here in a second when we get deeper into this. These are just kind of light rays that we'll be using for this. Let's create a material. Why not? It'll be quick, and I'll show you why it might make sense to make a material instead of using the default. So we'll right click and we'll create a new folder and we'll call it materials. Oh, that's my one downfall with streaming is I spell terribly. So in the materials folder, we will create a new material and we'll call this m underscore god rays. I don't know. That's fine. We're going to call them god rays. We'll double click. This will be all procedural. I'm going to try not to jump into Photoshop too much today. So if we get our text chords, TEX CO. Text chords, for those who aren't really familiar with material work, are just two gradients laid on top of each other in different directions, two channels of gradient data put together to make a vector 2. So if we want, we can kind of split those channels up with a break, and that breaks us into green and red, so R and G. And if we want just the green channel, we'll get a vertical gradient. And let me put this on a plane so it's easier to see. And I think we probably want the red channel now that I'm thinking about it, but you see what I'm saying here. The green channel is a vertical gradient and the red channel is a horizontal gradient. So we'll take our red channel and that'll give us horizontal. And what I like to call what I'm about to do is a gradient sandwich. So what I'm going to do is take the red channel and I'm going to 1 minus it. Now 1 minus is the math term for flip. Wherever white is, make it black, and wherever black is, make it white. So this would be the flip of what's in the preview here, right? So the right side is black, the right side is white, as opposed to what's in the preview is the opposite, right? And if you multiply those together, meaning wherever it's black, keep black, and wherever it's white, we just multiply those numbers. 1 times 0 is 0, and then all the numbers in between. So what's going to happen is we're going to get black on the left and the right side, right? Because where it was white here, we're multiplied that against black. So for those who are unfamiliar with kind of graphics programming, black is a value of 0 and white is a value of 1 or something higher, and black is a value of 0 or something lower. In this case, I know because texture chords start out this way, between a 0 and 1 space, UVs are in a 0 to 1 space, that we're multiplying 1 times 0 to get 0 here. Now what happened though is that the result of this does not reach white, and the math is essentially across the UV space it's 0 to 1, and since we multiplied 1 times 0, we get 0. Ever try graphics or other kinds of programming by chance? I have. I've done some HLSL. Zergling asks, have I done any other kinds of programming? I've done HLSL, and I found that to be a bit more taxing on the brain, but I understand the mechanics of that. And I used to work in Unity for a while, and so I did some kind of very rudimentary kind of JavaScripty programming to get some stuff working there. But I much prefer the visual scripting language of Unreal's material editor. So what I was saying though is because this was 0 to 1 and we multiplied 0 times 1, we got 0, and everything in between, in the middle of the UV space was a value of 0.5. And that was the case for both the original red channel and the flipped version. So 0.5 times 0.5 in the center here is 0.25. And that's not 1, and that's what we want. We want a value of 1 in the center and a value of 0 on the edges. And the way to get that is to multiply the results of this math by 4, right? Because 4 times 0.5 equals 1, right? So multiply times 4, and plug that in. And now our little gradient sandwich from 0 to 1 is created. And I'll let the preview happen here. So yeah, so white in the center and all the sort of decreasing values towards 0 all the way till you get to the edge of the UV space, and then it's 0. So this is a sort of a perfect sandwich gradient, and we can even we can comment as such: sandwich gradient. First time chat. Oh, cool. Someone's new. That's awesome. Welcome, Code Tech Ninja. Glad to see you. We were just talking about gradient sandwiches. Gradient. So yeah. So the reason we want this is because we're kind of looking for that like God ray thing, right? Like if you look at like the way that lights kind of show out, they have very soft edges to them. And so we're trying to kind of fool the eye to think that these are kind of soft flashes of light. So we're going to save this, and we're going to try to do multiply here. And since we're going to use these as particles, we're going to go find a particle color. And here's particle color. And I think I might be a little off camera. I don't know which direction. Oh, okay, cool. Maybe this way. That's fine. So yeah, so we'll get our alpha channel from our particle color, and we'll place our particle color here. Now our shader isn't equipped to use transparency, so we're gonna come over here to blend mode, and we'll change it to translucent. And since these are sort of like self-illuminating or self-lit kind of particles, we're gonna go with unlit. We don't need these to be affected by anything. We're sort of trying to fool players into thinking that these are lights themselves. So unlit works for us. And we're going to save this. And I'll just show you what this looks like on our particles that we just made. So instead of the default behavior here, which looks okay, and maybe we'll keep some semblance of it in the future, but instead of our default material, we're going to use, I want to use an instance because we might end up adding some values that we want to change later. So God rays instance, you just right click, create material instance, and it's been a minute since we saved, so save all. And yeah, we'll go back to our emitter and we'll add God rays instance. And we'll let that load up. And you'll see the soft edges when it does. Dismiss. I don't need any plugins. So the edges don't look super soft. And that's probably why we want a few changes here. We will come over here to our thickness of our sprites, and we will change it to be fatter, to be a little thicker. So 20, maybe to 30. And then what I want to do is come here and give us the ability to mess with the kind of edge fall off. And the way we can do that is with a power node. And a power node is kind of like a node that deals in contrast. It sort of shrinks the middling values between the blacks and the whites. It kind of removes a lot of the gray tones and gives you more of the extremes at the tops and the bottoms of your values. So I kind of say that it's a contrast changer. So if we right click, or I'm sorry, if we hold S and left click, we can create a parameter, and we'll just call this power, or pow for short. And a default power is a value of 1, and that should change nothing. Thanks, son. My lovely assistant Teresa just brought me some water. And so yeah, so what we'll do is we'll save this, and we will go back to our material instance. So we'll go to the browser and we'll find our instance, and we'll save all to make sure. And we'll look at this on a plane, and we'll just mess with the power value. So I'll just show you what that does for us. So as we ramp up the power value, we get a little bit more fall off on the edges here, right? And that's kind of what we're looking for. Just a little more fall off so that it's more apparent that there's fall off on the sprites, right? So it's looking a little bit more like flashes of light here. And maybe if we used an initial color that kind of denoted some light, maybe a yellow, like a light yellow. And if you're not familiar with kind of the way that colors work in kind of a PBR new game engine way, colors are sort of between values of 0 and 1, or in other instances 0 to 255. But if you go over a value of 1, or that max color value, it starts to cause emissive bloom. And so if I crank up this V value to like a 5 maybe, you'll see that the sprites get brighter. And that's kind of what we want. We want these to kind of start to seem a little bit brighter. Maybe a value of 5 might be too bright. I also want to kind of change the color so that they're a little more gold colored and not kind of closer to white. And we'll mess with that value as we go. But what I don't like is how these sprites have a hard edge. So let's change our shader one more time to include some solutions to that problem. So I initially told you that texture coordinates are just gradients, right? And so if we go to component mask or break, these are the same, right? They just sort of break allows you to handle R and G separately with 2 pins, and component mask allows me to sort of choose which components I want to be represented in this node. Right now, I just want the green channel for a vertical gradient, and I can't remember if I need to flip this or not. So we'll do the experiment to figure that out. What I want is to allow myself to change the width independent of what I'm about to do. So I'm going to do this multiplication after, but we're going to multiply the results of the change to the contrast on the left and right side of the sprite by a vertical gradient, which is going to give us some fall off towards the top of the sprite. And we're gonna put that in there as a multiply. And now you get kind of like a soft fall off edge, which is kind of cool, right? So we'll save this. Oh, sorry, I was holding Alt. So we'll save this, and I'll show you why that's cool over in the particle editor. So some of these edges you can see have kind of a little soft fall off if I pause, because the flash is kind of the way the stream is going. I'm sure it's harder to see probably, but these soft edges is kind of what we're looking for, right? These hard ones are because these sprites are going through to the other side, because their center is in the center of the big bang that we're working on. So instead, let's change where those center points actually land, or where they're handled by the sprite renderer. If you come over to Sprite Renderer and we change this pivot UV space, we can alter where they kind of land in the center. I think it's up is where I want to go. Yeah, right? So now the brightest part is in the center and the soft part is on the edges. Right? So that's way more kind of believable as like a flash bang kind of thing, right? I'm a fan of this methodology for a kind of a quick bang at the start or end of something. It's just whoosh on. It's believable, but it's not fully finished, and it's got some issues, and I'll show them off in a second. And then we'll start to add to this a little bit. One thing I want to do is maybe change or vary the thickness of these rays a little bit. Maybe instead we'll go with a value of 40. So they're a little thicker. So now we got some variation. Maybe even 60 might be pretty good. 60 maybe gives away the illusion. Maybe gives away the illusion. Let's go with 40. So back in Engine, if I was to hit question mark, looks pretty good, right? It's not perfect yet, but it's the start to kind of a little explosion. I think our lengths are a little too. Oh, maybe they're not too similar. Maybe we're just not seeing those as often, which I find interesting. But one of the problems that this effect has right away, and we're just at the beginning. We're not polishing or making it pretty yet. Is that if you put this close to the ground, and I hit question mark, let's focus in on this, and I hit question mark, the sprites get cut off, right? You can see a hard edge. Let me hit G to turn everything, all the widgets off. You can see a hard edge where the glow hits the ground. And that's not really great for games. It kind of ruins the illusion that these are particles of light, right? So to solve that problem, there's a nifty kind of node that, God, I gotta stop saying nifty. I said it last stream too, and it's like I'm 100 years old. Nifty. There's a great node to solve this problem. It's right click, depth fade. If you look in there, so depth fade says if I'm close to another object like a piece of geo or something like this, a character, let's sort of start to make the edge that's closest to that character a little bit transparent and fade it out. And I'll show you what that does for us here. If I hold M and left click to get a multiply, I can multiply the results of this previous shader math, this math that gave us our kind of fall off, our tube. FX is nifty business. Thank you, Zergling. My greatest supporter, everyone, Zergling. I'm going to multiply this result by depth fade. And I'm thinking to myself whether or not I care to do that before or after the color the particle color alpha multiplication, but I don't think it's going to matter to us. I normally try to leave depth fade to be the last calculation. I think I'm going to stick with what I know and make depth fade last. I don't think it matters, but and then we'll plug that into opacity. And we'll give ourselves the ability to change these depth fade values, and I'll just show you what they do for us in the engine here. So if I hold S and click, I'm going to call this DF for depth fade, and I'm going to call it opacity. So that's for the top pin, and these default values are 1 and 100, so I'm going to just keep those, and then we'll change stuff later. So we'll copy paste this, and we'll call this second parameter df distance, and then I'll explain what they do in editor, but we'll make it 100. So opacity, distance, and we'll save this. Hey, we have 5 people. Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great Saturday. I'll take a little drink of water while that loads. Oh, awesome. It's already good. Okay. Okay. Let me know if there's any problems with the stream, everyone, okay? So we're going to jump back to our Flash here. And if we go in Engine and we select our particle system, which is our Flash stream, so we're selected, and we hit question mark, you see close to the bottom now, the edge is very soft, right? Because essentially we're doing a depth check to say, am I close to this thing? How close am I? If I'm a certain distance away, start to fade out those edges, right? So I'll show you what it used to look like, and that would be a value of, I think, 0 or 1, I think it is. And I'll check and just make sure. But back in Engine, if I was to hit question mark, right? So now it's back to those hard edges, you can see, right? It collides with the geo and it's very hard and it shows the illusion and it's kind of crappy, right? You can tell it's a particle and it's not very convincing. But as we increase this distance, and you can even see it here in the preview, right? As we increase this distance, oh no, there's no geo there, so we probably won't be able to see it. But if we increase this depth fade distance to a value of, you know, even just 10, and we go back in Engine and we hit our question mark, softer, right? It's still hard, but it's way less noticeable. And the more we increase that distance, the further away from the colliding geo, the larger the distance, the softer that edge interaction will be. So depth fade helps us kind of make these light rays feel a little less like camera-facing sprites or particles that aren't actually light rays. So I really like depth fade. I think it helps sell particle interactions with other objects very well. So I put it back to 100, and there you go. So now that's a problem solved. It's still kind of cheap looking. I think what we need is maybe like a center glow of some kind, and I might end up drawing this in Photoshop. But for now, let's create that center, and we're going to use the material that we create for two different things. So if I right-click material and m underscore center flash is what we're going to create. And if we double-click center flash, and maybe we'll get rid of God rays for now. I don't think we need it yet. And maybe we'll come back to this too. But for now, I think we're fine. So in center flash, we're going to make the particle blend mode and the shading model the same as the other particles. And to save time, we're going to use a pre-built material node that Unreal comes with to get our kind of gradient ring. Pushing back the camera a little bit because it felt kind of close to my face. We're going to use a pre-built node. And so that node is called radial gradient exponential. So if we just throw this into the opacity and we actually into emissive color and we look at it on a kind of rectangular plane, you can see simple gradient circle. That's exactly what we want here. So we'll drag this into opacity, and we will kind of do some similar stuff to what we had in the other one. So we need particle color, because we're going to want to change the color in the particle editor. And we'll drag our RGB into emissive color, and we're going to multiply our opacity by this alpha mask, this gradient circle mask. And there you go. So now we get particle color, and the opacity will be able to be affected by the particle color alpha. Before I plug that pin in, though, we want the same response to when particles get close to a surface that we had for the rays themselves. So if we right-click and we look for depth fade, if I spelled well, depth fade, there we go. And we multiply this by that, and that's the reason to keep open the other material, is to just copy-paste this work to save us some time. But it's all good. It's Saturday, we're just hanging out. So s-click df underscore opacity, and we'll make this a default value of 1, and copy-paste. And we'll make this a default value. Oh, we'll change the name of this to distance. And I think we kept it at the default in the other one too. So we'll keep it at 100. And we'll plug both of these in. And that will give us that kind of soft edge response close to the surface. So now that we did all that work, we can save. I was thinking about potentially doing something interesting with the God rays themselves to kind of make the tubes a little more slender. much like the light from the end of a flashlight or a torchlight or something like this. But maybe we'll get into that in a second. I just want to make sure we add in kind of our center flash, and the center flash might be cool to do something kind of custom made instead of this really simple sprite. But for now, we're going to come here to flash emitter, and we're going to let's rename this particle system to be rays emitter, and then we'll copy paste it, and we'll call this flash emitter, or let's call it flash emitter, and that way and it doesn't need to be let's call it center flash, capital F emitter, and then we'll jump in. Actually, before we do that, let's jump into our system here, and let's add in our center flash. So it's going to look just like double the rays, which is fine. It still looks like a big kind of flashbang, which is cool. And so if we go into center rays here, let me close our system because we don't need it right now, and we undo some of this work we did, we can kill the pivot offsets, and we can change this material to be, we didn't make an instance. We may want to do something with the center flash material at some point. So I'm going to right click, create a material instance for center flash, and I'm going to save all just to make sure. And in center flash, we're going to use center flash instance, and we don't need them to be velocity aligned, and the size should be uniform. Value of 10 probably works well for us. Or not 10, 100 probably works well for us. They seem oblong still. Sprite size is uniform, 100. Let's turn off velocity. Sprite size by speed. There we go. Now I wonder to myself if that had any bearing on our rays size by speed. Oh, it most certainly did. Okay. I totally didn't see this module before. So that might change our overall values for this in the long run. I might half everything just to see if we can get back to something here. 500, 200. And then let's try to 80. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Let's go back to 60. Yeah, I don't know. We'll mess with this some more in a second, but what we want to do is add in our center flash. So it may actually be smaller than we need, but what we're going to do is we're going to add it to our system, save all, go over to our particles Niagara system, and it should be in there. Yeah, way too small. So you can change it here in the system, but then it won't kind of mirror that back here in the emitter itself. And so I try to go back to the emitter and only do changes in the system that are necessary, or if I'm just kind of messing around. So let's make this 500, 5 times as large. And what we'll probably end up doing, because that looks ridiculous, is giving ourselves some parameters to change the radius and density and some of those things. So if we right click and promote density to a variable, I think the initial density is 2.33. So let's do that. And we don't want to invert the density. We just want to be able to change it. And I don't know that radius matters to us right now, because we'll deal with brightness on the particle side. I just wanted to change the density, which is kind of like how much of the bright white is represented here. It's kind of like using a power on the sprite, just like we were doing for the rays. So if we go to our materials and we go to center flash instance, and we change density, sometimes it's hard to see this stuff with the background there. If we maybe undo the background and we drop this density down, you start to see how it kind of fades that center. We still have full representation of the sprite, just not as much kind of bright white there. If we bring the background back, you can see it's a lot harder to see through the center, which is kind of what we're looking for, right? It's adding a little something for us that I think we need there. And maybe it's worth it to do like a quick drawing to give us a more unique centerpiece, because this kind of feels stale and doesn't seem like what we might want in the long run. So let's do some quick Photoshop stuff. Hope everyone's enjoying. I really like making visual effects. The whole point of Let's Make Effects, I feel like I say this all the time, is to teach people who are interested in learning visual effects and enjoy doing it. It's more about everyone getting out of it what they want and need to be successful effects artists, and less about anything that I really enjoy. I just want to share my love and my craft for this stuff with others, and so I just appreciate you all being here today, because it's kind of nice to nerd out and make some effects with some friends. So here in Photoshop, we're gonna turn off the grid. And I still haven't fixed that stupid Photoshop thing. My first layer is never a background layer. We're going to fill the first layer with, let's do black. And we'll do layer, new background from layer. So boom, now we have a background layer. And so layer 2, we're going to, let's jump to like a quick way to do this. I'm gonna come over here to custom shapes. And the first shape that I have in my custom shapes, just because I was using something like this before, is this kind of blob shape. And I'm holding shift to kind of keep it uniform. But this kind of blob shape is kind of cool. It's just like a unique starting point. So I'm going to shrink it down. And I'm going to go to filter here. And I'm going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. And that gives us kind of like a like a blurry. It's not pretty, but it's something to start us out with. So I'm gonna hit OK here, and then I'm gonna come over here to the Smudge Tool, and I'm gonna just kind of be creative and not think too hard about it, and just kind of smudge some of the shape out. So you can see me kind of starting to pull on these edges a little bit, and get kind of creative about getting this shape to kind of pull out a little bit, and make something that feels like kind of an impact. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There's nothing, art's not perfect. It's just, we just want to use our texture space a little bit, and create something that feels kind of unique and not too clinical. And so, yeah, I'm just pulling out some shapes here, and trying to be a little creative. That might be a little too specific and distinct. So we'll do that. We'll kind of pull it back a little. Oh, awesome. Yeah, Zergling, anytime. I'm a big fan of sharing in this work with others. So I often on our Discord, which hopefully all of you become a part of, I often will offer to do demos of stuff that people are talking about, because it's just a fun a chance for me to have some fun experimenting, and have others benefit from it. So if you all are ever like, oh, I'm actually kind of stuck working on something and would love to see like your take on it, always feel free to just come bug me on the Discord, or hit me up on Twitter or something, and yeah, I'd love to help you out. So let's make sure the sprite is center, because sometimes what happens is you start pulling out these pieces, and you don't get your sprite isn't centered up. I think we're good. Let's make sure. I can't see my. Oh yeah. So we're about as center as we want to be, I think. And maybe this might even be like I might even do something like this to get a little bit more variation. Is like do this and then filter, blur, Gaussian again or something. Doesn't have to be. I just want to remove kind of the human element from it, and then we'll drag this out again. So it's just supposed to look kind of like a splat, and we don't want to go too far with our transformation because we don't want kind of our soft edge to go off the sprite. But I think we're good. There's probably some other cool stuff we could do with this to give it some more variation in tone and stuff. But I think we're all right. None of the sides look too particular. Yeah, probably already said this, but how'd you first start learning? Self-taught? Yeah, I'm self-taught, and I don't mind answering this question at all. I'm self-taught. What happened was I started in this industry as an animator and a rigger, and so I used to rig characters for this mobile game I was working on. And one day, the studio that I was working for, S2 Games, makers of Heroes of New Earth, if anyone's familiar, asked me to make visual effects, and I had never done that before. And so they said, we don't have anybody to do it, and we don't want to pay anyone to do it. Could you do it? Which I feel like this is a lot of visual effects artists' origin stories. But yeah, so I was kind of thrown into it, and I was terrible at first, and didn't know anything about visual effects, and really like struggled. There weren't a lot of tutorials or information out there to help people like me who were just wanting to get in and understand how to do this job. And so yeah, I watched a lot of tutorials, and I did a lot of trial and error, and eventually I could replicate some of the stuff I was seeing on Twitter and center flash is what we're going to call this. And then I started joining competitions and chatting with other effects artists. And I think one of the things that really helps young effects artists who are starting out is just staring at other people's work and thinking about how you might be able to create something like that. And so that's because that's what I did. And after enough time, I could look at an effect and be like, okay, this is probably this combination of things. If I had to do this myself, I'd do it this way. And I was right most of the time. So yeah, a lot of heartache and headache. And really that's a big impetus for Let's Make Effects. It's I want to give other effects artists the tools to be successful so they don't have to sort of run at the wall over and over and over like I did to find success at this. And it's to get more kinds of people involved in game development. I want more, LGBTQ people, more women, more sort of non-traditional people who want to tell stories and be part of this industry, to be part of the industry. So however I can help that, I'm going to do it. So we're going to use our texture here we just made and grab this center flash. And instead of using the gradient circle, I'm going to probably use a switch here. It may make sense to just swap them wholly, but you never know. You might want to do something else. So let's say use texture here. And so what I did was I right-clicked and looked for static switch parameter. And really what this is a Boolean that we can check in our material instance that does one thing or the other thing based on if this Boolean is checked. So you get to name the Boolean. I called it use texture. And if we do use texture, then we're going to use the red channel of this texture. And if not, we're just going to use the sort of default gradient circle that Unreal Engine creates for us. And if we're using that texture, I'm going to allow it to be a parameter. So I'm going to right click and convert this to a parameter, and I'm going to call it texture. And I like those goals. I can definitely relate. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if that's a good, avenue or a common avenue for folks getting into this kind of work as well, Zergling. I know there's a lot of different kinds of origin stories. One of the members on our community server, Thomas, and I used to work at Nintendo together, and I know he started out doing character modeling and some other stuff, and much like me, was like sort of challenged to make visual effects and fell in love and never looked back. So I think a lot of folks start there. Background in anim or art is common. Yeah, it's definitely helpful. One of the cool things about visual effects that people often overlook is its relation to animation, in that timing and anticipation are really useful. They're exactly what makes a visual effect great, is understanding how animation plays a role. So so instead of this kind of soft circle, we're going to use texture, and it'll bring in our center flash texture, and we'll see what that looks like. So kind of a splat, right? It's almost like exactly like what we had in the Photoshop file. So if I save this and we go back to our particle and we look at our flash, it's a little better, right? It's a little better. It's a little less intrusive. I want it to be brighter, maybe smaller. There's a little... Oh, we're spawning multiple particles, aren't we? Yeah, we're bursting 40. I was like, there's a little kind of a weird artifacting happening. There we go. All right. Let's see. Yeah, right? So it's adding a little something to our center. I think if we made it brighter and used a singular particle, so to make that brighter, we would just come over here to particle color and maybe make this 10. Yeah, so now we get a kind of a white center, and we'll look and see what that looks like. It's a bit more apparent than I like. And what I may do is brighten the rays a little. Let's do, and for anyone who's used the color picker before and maybe didn't know this, because someone told me this the other day, they'd never seen it before. You can drag and drop these colors into this little color saver, and then you can come back and click this color anytime later. So I'm going to change this to 10, and that way I can match colors across particles. So let's see if this feels a little more together. Yeah, it's pretty. It's a little bit more together. One of the things I don't really like about what we have here is kind of how straight these tubes are. I wish that they were a bit more kind of bowed out, like I was saying earlier, like kind of flashlight flashes. So we're going to try something. Something I feel like I've done before, but it's not wholly apparent how I might do it yet. And so I'm still seeing a little artifacting on the edges of this. That's kind of interesting to me. We'll have to figure out. Maybe it might have to do with the way Photoshop is processing my smudging. So we'll figure out if we want to do something about that later. But for now, it's not very visible from this distance. What I want to do is change our rays a little bit. So let's save all, and we'll jump back into our God Ray shader. And this is going to be wonky, and I have not done this in front of people before. But essentially, we need to scale, or I want to scale half the sprite. So that seems to me like, since texture coordinates are what make the sprite up, we want our scale factor, or our scaling of the sprite, to only affect half the sprite. And that sounds to me like a gradient. So let's use component mask green. No question. No, dude, don't apologize, Zergling. I appreciate the questions. I like that you are engaged in this, because it's fun for me, and I don't mind answering questions at all. I think we want to pinch the bottom of our sprite. So wherever it's white will have the most influence, and wherever it's black will not. To pinch the sprite, we probably want to scale. How would I do this? Scale. Oh, we could use a lerp. Let's use a lerp. This is interesting to try to solve in front of people. We're gonna use a lerp, and in that lerp we're gonna place regular texture chords, and wherever it's black, and we're gonna place texture chords multiplied by some scale, and we probably only want to scale the X, so we'll multiply our text chords by the, so we'll break our text chords so we get only the red channel, and we'll multiply that by some value to pinch the red channel together. Let's see what this looks like on a, this is going to be kind of strange looking, but I bet it works. We probably could do this with a texture, but that's no fun. Let's try this first, and then we'll go back to the texture. So we'll multiply this times some value, which I'm going to call pinch, UV pinch maybe? Yeah, UV underscore pinch. Happy to have you here, Zergling. Do not worry about questions. Keep firing them away if you got them. We'll multiply R by the UV pinch value, and then we'll append G. So we split the UVs apart. I pinch the X coordinate, which is the left and right sides, and then I put the UV chords back together, and we only do that where this value is white. Maybe that makes sense? I think it does, though. I think it does. And where do we want to use this? Probably want to use this in both of these. Don't quote me on that. What's that going to look like? It doesn't look the same. Yeah, no worries. I am curious if this, what does it look like if I, oh, I'll probably have to offset too, because it'll probably pinch towards one side. But you see what I'm doing though, right? It's becoming kind of a light torch, which is what I'm trying to do on the UV space. That's awesome, actually. I'm glad that works, kinda. I need to offset too. Man, that's awesome. I'm glad that worked out, because sometimes you demo stuff in front of people and it turns out not to work the way you plan. The math seems to work in my head though, so I'm like, it's gonna be all right. So we'll do an add here as well to offset the X channel, as well as pinch it, and we probably want to offset in the opposite direction. UV offset maybe is what we'll say. Offset, and let's make that offset 0 for now, and then we'll just play around with this in the material instance and see what we get. I don't think we need this this UV chord to be different. We can just do all of it with the same UV coordinates since we're not changing any of those values. So this is where the pinch happens, right? Yep. And then this is just what we get, where we get our. So this is we'll call this. I like to comment so that if people come back and look at this later, they can. So we'll call this pinch, UV pinch. And kind of all of this is UV pinch. If I'm being honest, we'll just put all of this in there. So commenting, by the way, you just select all the nodes you want to comment on, and then you hit C, and it'll create a big comment box around it. So UV pinch, and then this gives us our sandwich gradient, and then this gives us our soft interactions, or yeah, soft geo interactions, and this is the sandwich gradient with we should probably call this POW sandwich fall off or something like this. Yeah, let's call this POW sandwich fall off. And the stream looks like it's still going. I'm very proud of the fact that this is pretty seamless as far as streams that I've done is concerned. We'll call this sandwich fall off, or I guess light cone fall off. Yeah, it's called cone fall off because that gives us the ability to kind of soften the edges of the cone. And then, yeah, then we're multiplying the top by a sort of soft edge. This is sort of the fall off towards the top of that torch. So that's kind of cool. So we'll futz with the values here. Futz. I gotta get new words. We'll futz with the values in the material instance, and we'll get ourselves a little light cone, and I think that's going to be kind of a cool addition to our burst. And then I'm going to add some kind of little soft particles, and maybe we'll do like a cool star and a ring and all kinds of stuff to add to this. I think it could be just nice to do this little kind of bang sprite. So bang, bang. So if you look at our you can already see that it's a little bit more believable. When we fix the God rays, I think we'll really have something to look at here. So let's go find that material. It's God rays instance. So the problem is half the sprite is off the card. Harder to see with the background here. So if we undo that, so now it's kind of like the light tube's a little off. If what we want, I think what we want is to offset it back towards the center, right? So whatever this value is probably like -1. It probably will get us centered. Yeah, right? So now we kind of got that like interesting pinching going on. And maybe if we ramp this value up to like a 4, I really wish the gradient was more linear. I think it's soft. And I wonder if there's a... Okay, hold on. Before we do that, gradient... Is there a linear gradient node? Why is it linear? We're going to learn something today. Because I know the one that comes from texture chords is smooth. So... No, isn't it smooth? Huh. That's interesting. You would think that this would do something more than just split the texture chords up. Yeah, because it feels like the gradient, the fall off is soft here, right? And what I want is like linear. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to figure out if there's a way to get that. But for now, I think this is pretty good. When I increase the value to 4, we probably need to do like -1.5, and I'm sure there's a math reason for why this value works with a value of 4 that I'm not thinking about. But 2.5, no, 1.5, 3, no, 1.5. So if we go back to our particles. So now they're a little bit more kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Triangular or cone-like. So we can maybe ramp up the thickness again, 40, 80, right? Because it's a little more kind of bang, right? So we save all this. And we go back to our material. They feel not thick enough these days now for us. 80, 160. They work. Um, they work, but it doesn't look super pretty to me yet. Let's turn off sorry. It's weird. The material is what controls if you turn the background off, it turns the background off in the particle editor too, which is interesting to me. So that's pretty good. I think what I want is to shrink the center piece and then maybe add a gradient circle behind, and then we'll see. We don't need random for this lifetime, by the way. We can just put this at 0.2. That's interesting. How long do the rays live? Why do it feels like... Didn't I say 0.2 here? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. It's getting there. Let's do so interesting to me that they bow out a little. They don't kind of let's see. Okay. So let's do 120. A little fatter. No. 100. 80. I like the variation. I do. Some of them they feel a little longer than maybe I'd want, but I like where it's going. It feels a little less fake to me, which is good. Let's add some particles. Let's ramp up the color of these tubes a little. I think we're using 10, so let's use 20. So they're a little brighter. Let's see. What does that look like? Yeah. Let's soften them. I think what we want is loud center, soft edges. I don't want to mess with the color for the other particles here. What if this was 3? Do we see our center more? Yeah. Okay. Is this working out? Is that actually changing? Oh, this is on the... I'm sorry. This is on the... Did I change the particles here? Okay, cool, cool, cool. It's weird. You can like change the value, but not be on the window. I find that to be just problematic for a lot of reasons. But okay. I think what we want is some radiating particles, and we can add like a little ring and maybe a star to like start it off. Just do some like kind of cool cleanup stuff. I want to ramp this down. There's a bunch of stuff I'm kind of like thinking about. Do I want this? Do I not want that? Do I... yeah, so let's add that circle behind to give us just a little fall off, and that would just be creating a material instance, and this instance is just going to use a soft density, like a 1.5 maybe, 0.75, and save, and then we'll just duplicate center flash in our particles, and we'll duplicate it, and we'll call this center flash round. I don't know. We'll call it round. And in here, we'll just change the material to be the soft boy. Center flash. Oh, I thought I called it round. Maybe I never hit save. That's funny. Oh, I called it round here, but I didn't call the material instance any. I just called it 1. Okay, cool. Save all. So in the particle system, let's add center flash round. Yeah, it's helping a little. It's helping a little. What I want to do is make center flash round larger. say like 800, and I want to throw. So one cool thing you can do in particles is change the order they're in. And what I want to do is take this down to like 5 maybe. I just want to add like a glow hue to like behind the particles. Yeah, the hope is to just give a little extra oomph. We want to change the sort order. So this order is it's down here at the bottom. Its sort order hint is like which particles render in front of which in the system. And I think if you make this value 1, we'll see our kind of front flash a bit more. And now it's starting to make me want to grow that size a little bit more on the center flash. That's interesting. Oh, okay, the lighting is just readjusting after we changed it before. We'll put all of our particles here. We'll make this one maybe a little larger, or maybe I want the strands to be larger. I don't know. We'll see. 800. Does that make the particle system feel weird? No, it's pretty good actually. I kind of want there to be more fall off on the edge of this. It feels a little hard. I'm gonna make that change, and then we'll add in some kind of particle bits, and we'll add in a circle, and we'll do the whole dance. All right, let's let the lighting adjust a little bit. I really thought maybe what I want is to change the contrast. I'm trying to fix the bending in the middle of the rays. It's a little bent, and I don't like it. Let's do power. Let's change some of the fall-off values, right? We were just talking about how power removes some of the middling gray values. And I think that's what I want here, convert to parameter. Let's call this UV pinch power. And we'll make this a value of 1. And that way we won't affect anything. And then we'll go see what this kind of does for us in Engine. And while we're here, I want to give myself the ability to change the distance on the gradient fall off up top. So similarly, power, we'll call this, by the way, lerp values, because I sometimes forget this, lerp values, the alpha in lerps should always be 0 to 1. And if not, lerps kind of get weird. So I'm going to add a saturate here. For those who don't know, and I feel like I say this every stream, saturate is an alternative to using a clamp. So this clamp allows us to clamp values between a min and a max. In this case, the default is a 0 to 1. And saturate, it does exactly the same thing. It clamps between 0 to 1. The difference between the two is that clamp allows us to change what those min-max values are, and saturate defaults to a 0 to 1 clamp. So I'm using saturate here because lerps want 0 to 1, and I don't need to change the min and max. And I similarly often put saturate or clamp after power values, so I don't blow out my sort of nice 0 to 1 math that I want to use throughout my materials, because 0 to 1 math is very useful for things like colors, right? So I try to keep things between 0 to 1. If I'm ever throwing a power at the end of something, I normally try to clamp it or do something where I'm kind of making sure that these values don't get out of whack. I don't know that I want to clamp this because it deals with the, well, maybe I do. Sorry. We'll come back. Either way, I want to clamp this because I don't want the fall off to go into a wacky place. But I'm gonna right click this, and convert it to parameter and call it vertical vert fall off. And by default, we're going to make this a value of 1. And you can see that top of the edge of the sprite is hard right now. And as we ramp this value up, we'll get more fall off. And so we'll be able to play with that a little bit. Yeah, we gave ourselves some more toys. We gave ourselves cone fall off was what we named this instead. And then this is kind of UV pinch. And this is vertical fall off. So we can mess with some stuff and maybe get something a little bit closer to what we're looking for. And I'm checking the time. We're about an hour and a half in. If anyone's feeling tired or needs a break or anything, feel free to get up. It's all good. We're just kind of messing around and having fun. So zoom in on the sprite here, and what I want to do is try to change the pinch power and see if that gives me some difference in how the pinching takes place. See, it kind of widens out the top. That's what we were looking for. Awesome. I'm so glad that that worked the way that I thought it would. That's super cool. Okay. So now we really do get that kind of light cone feel, which is great. That's super good. And vertical fall off will give us a little bit more kind of breathing room on the top with some softer edge there. And that is probably closer to what we want to see. It may look a little funky, but we're gonna check it and see. So save all. Go back to the flash emitter. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that. That's pretty awesome, huh? That's pretty cool. Okay. That's exactly what we wanted. That's amazing. Sometimes things don't come together on stream. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes things don't come together on stream. Yeah, so boom, right? Bang. That's what we're looking for. So I think our center resolves too fast now because our rays, are between a 0.5 and a... So I think what I'm going to do is make these direct set. I'm going to make them 0.3 and maybe even 0.2. That way it's all bang, bang. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Center flash is bang. And then that's the background that gives us a little extra back. Bang. It feels like we lost our rays. Right? Doesn't it feel like we lost them? Let's pause. Are they there? Oh, they're there. Huh. They just feel like they got smaller. Okay. How about this? 0.25. So they live a little longer. Do they show up now? It's like we don't even... Okay. So we'll keep the round and we'll shrink this back down to like 400. So it'll just be where all of the rays meet to give us a little extra meat in the center. And then we'll match lifetimes again. I think we probably want some random here, but let's see. Are we fully checked in here? There we go. I think it looks bad. The hand-drawn one looks bad. Okay. So let's use Flash Instance 1 and see if 2 round circles is what we want. Okay. I see what's happening. I think Niagara is wigging out. I'm going to save and compile all of these and then see if that gives me a different system. Yeah, see, it's not updating the system. That's funky. Okay, let's close this. This has happened to me before too. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it gets into a weird state where it's like the particle, there's the if you have the system open and you make changes to the emitters, they don't update or something. It's a weird bug. I'm not sure why that happens. So let's just make sure none of these values have like the green arrow backwards, which means it didn't update stuff. Yeah. Okay. I think. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're better. It just didn't update the sprite renderer for the non-round flash, which is now round. So cool. What I want to do is just ramp up the brightness of the emitter that's in front. What we'll do is we'll number these again. It should be, seeing all these say flash, which I find funny too, because one of them should be rays, and I can rename these. Man, the system should just know if I rename or change something somewhere else that it just understands that. PS rays. Let's keep everything consistent so we don't get it wrong. And then this is center flash, and this is center flash round. Okay. So to me, and I thought we did this, but maybe we changed it somewhere else. Center flash should be in front, and we'll make this value 2. The higher the number, the later it renders, or whichever pass it has the higher number renders after the other, meaning it'll be the one in front. So it's like 0, 1, 2, and then whatever 2 is will be the closest to camera. So 2 is going to be our big center flash. 1 is going to be our rays. And then we just want this kind of hue or background flash to be the kind of behind portion. It's pretty good so far. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's close the system so we don't encounter some weird issues again. Let's change this back to the other sprite real quick. Now that we have a good idea of what this thing actually looks like, we can see if we like it. Yeah, it adds a little something. Yeah, okay. I'm really happy with the oh, come on. Yeah, it doesn't do it justice for some reason. I don't know if the timing is weird. Oh, maybe the lifetime never actually updated. No, they're the same. Yeah, maybe just the hand-drawn sprite just isn't looking great for us today. And sometimes that just happens. We don't need to, solve all the problems. What I'm going to do is use a round one. Oh, actually, I should do that on the particle level. I'm going to use a round one. And yeah, maybe it's just too thick or something. I don't know. We'll figure out why that is another day. I'm going to use the round one because I think that looks okay. Let's make sure we're not bursting more than one particle. And I'm going to just ramp up the brightness. And maybe that's what our problem was with the other sprite, that it was just too bright or something. But I'm happy about it. I'm happy about where it's going. Yeah, see, when it gets too big like that, I want them all to land at the same time. What are the lifetimes? Let's just make sure everyone's aligned. 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. All right. And then we'll do variation after, but I just want everything to land at the same time so we know we're getting the right results. Okay. Look at it in engine. Question mark. Yeah, right? So it's big. Oh. My screen just turned off for a second. Weird. Okay. Well. Okay, cool. We're back. Awesome. And hopefully that didn't look crazy to you guys. Okay, cool. I think it looks better in engine, to be honest. I want it. I want to hit G and drag it above so we can get a good sense of it. I don't know if this world has a post-processing volume, but if it doesn't, we'll make one so that we get the results we want. Everything feels really soft. I don't know that I love it, but it's, you know, like we could do this, right, where we're like go into our God rays and we do our what is it called, cone fall off, and we kind of change it a little bit so we get more cone. And in that way, okay. So what if I turn off the background one? We're only getting the center. Okay, turn off the center one. That's pretty good so far. I think we want a soft back to it, and maybe we don't, but I'm gonna keep it for now. But we're gonna add particles. Oops. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. I think we could make some of the sprites a little bit harder, but I don't want to get hung up on it. We got about 30 minutes, and I want to make sure we get some other cool stuff added in. So let's do omnidirectional, which would be rays. Actually, we don't even need to do that. We'll create a whole new particle system, Niagara system, template, directional burst, omnidirectional burst, and we'll just call this PS bits. Have we used a drawn particle yet? Yeah, we did. Oh, no, I guess we're not. We're not using any drawn particles. This is kind of cool that everything's all what you call it, procedural. Let's turn off drag, or let's leave drag but turn off gravity. So bang. Fire once. I think 100 particles is fine. I think the lifetimes are too long. We can leave it at random. Let's do 0.7, 0.3, and let's make these ones velocity aligned. We'll have a kind of a mix of two. Velocity aligned, and we'll go to particle lifetime, or sorry, particle size, and we'll do non-uniform, and we'll make the Y 100. What? 1,000? Non-uniform. Oh, did I do velocity aligned? No, I did. Velocity from point? Why aren't you long? Weird. Random. Okay, let's do non-uniform again. Velocity from point in a sphere. You would think they would be long. They seem fat to me, which is weird. Okay. Oh, wait. Wait. Oh, for a minute we're scaling the sprites. Is the drag doing it? Why don't you look? Maybe it didn't take on the velocity aligned thing. Weird. Oh, it's this thing. This, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Calculate size by rotational inertia. It messes things up. Don't use it. I don't use it unless I'm doing stuff with like physics and whatever. I want to save a copy of this. Duplicate, and we'll call this Oh, spikes or something. I don't know. PS underscore spikes. And we'll add PS underscore spikes to the system. Save all. And we can optimize and all that shiz later. We don't need to do any of that at the moment. Just make it look pretty first. You know, have fun doing it. Don't break anything. Yeah. Okay. Save all. And we'll go to spikes real quick. And they're probably, okay, 3.2. Back to the system. Yeah. Okay. We're going to shorten everything. 500. We're going to randomize, non-uniform, random, 500, 200. Yeah, there you go. And then we're going to change this color to be the same color we've been using on everything. Yep. We're going to add that to the system. Let's remove our soft round background. And let's not make light rays render in front. Yeah, so we're going to work with these two for now. And we're going to add some little kind of particly bits too. I think we were working too hard to kind of make all the particles congeal, and we didn't need to work that damn hard. Add in bits. So now we got some bits. Oops. Oh. Does bits still suck? Oh, yeah, it does, because it's too long. They're too long. I wanted to do 30. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And let's make them live 0.4, 0.2. And we'll increase the velocity, and we'll change the color to be this color, but 20. So they're way brighter. And we'll go back to our system. What? Oh, they're not fast enough. Sorry. Let's increase our velocity to be 1,000. Ooh, couldn't see that. There you go. 1,000, 300. Yeah, maybe even 2,000. Oh, 2,000. There we go. Now we get some differences here. Oh, we saw it. Okay. Now that our cones look like cones, I think they're too fat. This is all the artistic stuff, which is cool. I appreciate once you get to a certain point, you can start to kind of just, you know, tweak stuff and like try to, you know, make some small changes. And I think we want to come here and change this to 80. And then this to 40. There we go. Yeah, now we're good. Now we're cooking. Procedural light cones. I don't think we need the center. We'll talk about the round edge. Don't need to mess with these God rays anymore. Or the center flash. We have the flash system. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. It's not bad. I think our bits are too large, and they go too far away, and we probably have too many of them. Let's do 40, and let's change the size from let's just half everything. There we go. And let's do drag, and we'll do random drag. So you can click on the little caret and do random range float. So let's make the drag between 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's starting to slow stuff down. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Starting to slow stuff down. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, we're getting there. It's kind of wild all of this stuff is procedural, right? Like we haven't used the texture yet. I want our rays to be brighter. Let's see if we can get that to work out here. I know we dimmed them. 50? Oh, that's probably crazy. What's the spikes? What are they? They're 5. But they're easily seen. So maybe we'll, yeah. See, that's crazy. 50 is too much. 20. Just a little brighter. Or maybe I should make them closer to white, and that'll get me what I want. Yeah, because ramping up the, let's do 5, but then a little whiter. Yeah. I want to add back my center flash. Yeah. We're getting there. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. I'm gonna go 60, and then we're gonna do a cool anime star, because I'm a big fan of anime. Does this have a post-process volume? What is the... So sometimes what I'll do when I'm making something bright like this is I will adjust the exposure settings to make sure, or the bloom intensity even sometimes, to make sure it feels as bright as I want it to look. So you'll see the difference here. When I select my particle system, and I hit it again. Oops, and then turn off the widgets. I kind of want to shrink my center flash. I don't think we're going to need the background one. Does it do anything for us? Not really. I feel like I'm going to crash this. Crash this thing. It's silly, but seems like... Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to open this system because I think it adds something, even if it's subtle. I'm going to open that system, and then I'm going to do our star, and I'm going to do our ring, and we'll be good to go. So it's this system. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about ribbons before we close out. Instead of using what is probably a super bright value, yeah, let's do 20. I might start changing those colors too. Give us a different feel. Okay, so we have velocity aligned sprites, and they live... Are these particles the same size? Okay, so there's some randomness to that too. So we have velocity aligned sprites, and they live 2 to 4 seconds. I want to change all of the lifetimes, emitter lifetimes on all of these systems. So the loop duration is going to be every 2 seconds. And the reason for that is I want the repetition of when this system fires every time to be a little bit longer in the system itself, so I can actually see the resolution of the particles. So we'll change the emitter state loop duration to 2. And we just closed spikes. Let's save all again. Make sure we don't lose anything. Closed spikes, but we want to open spikes and change its emitter state to 2. And I think that's all of the systems we're actually using. So back in Flash system, it should be flash, wait, flash, wait. Awesome. Yeah, I think we're well in the ballpark of like a cool kind of burst effect, which is awesome. Um, yeah, I don't think we're gonna need this this kind of background piece. Let's just kill it for now. That way we're not thinking about it. But I do want to add a second set of particles. This is all off the dome, y'all. We're just having fun. Let's call these duplicate this because I think the behavior will be similar. We'll call this dots instead of bits. I don't know, dots. And we'll double click this. And instead of doing velocity aligned, we're just going to do regular particles that aren't non-uniform. They're uniform, but they live a little longer. And we're going to vary the velocity a little bit more. 100. We're going to increase our drag just a bit. So that I want them to hang and maybe even fall just a bit. Negative 200. I just want them to kind of feel like they're gonna drop after a couple seconds. 300. Bang. 400. 600. Do you notice them now? Yeah, there's a little drop. Okay. I think that's kind of cool. Let's vary the tones a little bit while we got a second here. What if we made these? Now, a little kind of a red color, maybe. We'll go back to Flash and we'll add in bits. I'm sorry, dots. I want them to be larger. I want them to be visually different than the directional version. So let's increase the lifetimes to be a little bit longer. And I want them to hang out for a little bit longer. 50. And let's change their size. Oh, see, and the other ones these are uniform, but I want uniform random. So let's make these a little larger, like 40. And 30. And let's see, does that give us enough visual distinction? Yeah. Bang. Bang. They're a little bit, yeah, they're a little bit larger than maybe I want. So let's do 20. Bang. Yeah. So I kind of want whatever this color is, I want to save it. Oops, save it. And then use that on my rays maybe. That way we can start to mix in a little different color here. Now, does that look weird? Oh, I didn't save, did I? Save. Compile. It's pretty good, but I think the rays stand out a little bit too much now, so we just want to drop our color, our multiplier to like a 20. But I like it. I like it. I think it's going in the right direction. Yep. Yep, yep. We're really only noticing the longest of the rays, which I think is kind of interesting. Bang. Bang. Is the orange color doing it for anyone? It's pretty good. Let's change the rays to be a little bit less long. I feel like I'm getting a lot of long ones. I want more variation in size. They feel very similar to me. 600. Yeah, maybe that'll help. Okay. Compile. They look pretty good in that freeze frame, huh? Let's do variations in the bits, because I don't are they random? So they're non-uniform, but they're not non-uniform random. So 15, 30. Get some more long ones, and then 5, 10. All right, let's do a particle count check. Make sure we're not killing anything. And then I'm going to add our star in these last 5 minutes. I think the rays feel better. I'm curious what people might feel like about adding some kind of randomized curl noise force. Yeah, so if you ever add forces after the fact, it wants you to put them before the solver so that it can calculate them over the particle lifetime. I want to see if I maybe made this value like 100. Let's make it crazy. Okay, cool. What I wanted is a little kind of swirl at the end. Oh, hey, thank you. Siru9, thank you. I think it's cool too. It's just, we've been kind of throwing some stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I think we need some like swirl to this. 10,000 feels like a lot to me, and maybe we want, there we go, some more like less frequent, or maybe, yeah. I like that it's kind of, let's randomize the strength a little so they're not all that sort of 10,000 value. Let's do a random float. Let's do 10,000. Oh, wait, did I do 100,000? It's hard to see the number of zeros. Hold on. 10,000. There we go. So some of them are doing it, some of them aren't. That's pretty cool. I think I want to add like some flames to this or something. It's starting to feel a little fiery to me. Maybe what I'll do is we'll go to the spikes. Yeah, so I'm going to thicken the spikes a little. I know they're, let's see. Yeah, okay. I think that's the right move. I think we probably want less spikes. We don't need 100, we probably need 50. And we want to thicken them a little. Like 10. And they all should go at the same time. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see what happens if we. I don't feel like we lost anything by making those changes to the spikes. So let's change the color. Yeah. I do like that there's a little gold still in this because of the center piece. But I think it feels good. What do you guys think? It's pretty good. I think it feels interesting. Like the bits probably need some curl noise. So one cool thing you can do in Niagara that's kind of awesome is I'm gonna maybe turn down 10,000 might be too much. 5, 1, 2, 3 zeros. So a little bit of variation there. And 2,500 maybe 2,500. One of the cool things you can do in Niagara is you can be using a module. Let's save all. Who knows? Crashing. You can copy this, and you can go to another system like Bits, and you can paste it. And now Bits will have some curl noise too. And that's kind of cool, right? Like you don't even need to go back and do the values again. I kind of want, because of the way that the dots kind of linger a little bit longer, I kind of want them to linger even longer, like 4 seconds. And let's maybe do a quick 15 to those sizes. I like how chonky they are, but I just want to make sure we're not overpowering anything. See, now we kind of lose them. Isn't that sad? Bang. Bang. Yeah. I'll go back. I'm gonna make them 20, and then now let's do our star. We have about a minute left on the 2 hours I'm supposed to do, but I'm gonna go over, which I feel like anybody who's ever watched a stream knows that I always end up going over by a little bit. I just like how these kind of live and swirl around a bit. I think the curl noise should be used before all forces. Huh. You think like throw this up here? Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. I agree. That's looking better. I don't think we're using gravity in this one. Yeah, we're not using gravity in this one. Yeah. There's something real interesting about what curl noise does, though. I like it a lot, actually. Yeah. It's nice. It feels like kind of like a fire impact effect. So let's do a let's add a star to the center that kind of kicks it off, and maybe a ring that finishes it, and then I think it's like that's a pretty successful stream. So 1 second. We could use like a let's keep it all procedural. Let's see if we can get away with not using any textures. We had a texture in Photoshop. We ended up not using it. Let's I'm gonna cheat and I know the math, but it's like my just for speed's sake. I'm gonna open a material editor, and I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna create a new material, and I'm gonna call it m_star. And I'm gonna open that up. I posted about this on Twitter the other day, that I was kind of futzing around and made a procedural star that I thought was really cool, and I shared it with others. And the way to do that was with texture chords. So I just threw up the math on the other screen so I can save a little time for folks. So texture coordinate, and we'll subtract 0.5. I think I added a negative 0.5. It's the same. Subtract 0.5, and then we break our texture chords, and we multiply the results together. And just so everyone can see how that's going, I'll plug that in there, and I'll change this to translucent, unlit. Get our kind of fiery center star. I wish you know what I'll probably end up doing in the end is creating some fire particles, maybe not on stream, but creating some fire particles that accompany this impact. So what we're getting is kind of this swooping kind of almost a star motion. Only if only we had these edges as well. So what's happening is these values are negative values and these values are positive values. Negative values always end up showing up as black, and positive values that are above 0 show up as white. And so we want the negative values to also be positive. So if we use absolute here, we can get those negative values to be positive, right? That's already starting to look like a star, which is great. We want to pinch a little bit more. So if we multiply this by a high value, like I'm going to use convert to parameter. Hardness is what I'll call this. A value of like 1,000. And plug that in. We kind of we'll pinch some of those soft edge values, and now it starts to become kind of a real star here. The center is black and the outside is white, and if you're making effects, you want the opposite. So we're going to swap the where black and white are with an absolute value, or I'm sorry, with a 1 minus inverse in some other engines, and that is going to be our star. The one other thing we want to do here, right, because you can see, boom, star, right? The one other thing we want to do here is actually soften where these pieces impact the edge of the UVs. And the reason for that is because if not, we're going to get these kind of hard edge finish to our star. So a way to do that is to take this texture chord, which the subtract a half is just to make the center of the math we're about to do the actual center of the UV space, 0.5, 0.5, as opposed to 0, 0 being up in the upper left corner, which is how text chords normally work. So now we're kind of in the center, which is why our star is in the center. So if we take that same thought and we do a vector length, and by default it puts it in 3, but we want a vector 2 because texture chords are vector 2, and we if we just previewed this node, we would be seeing kind of a soft circle. But I'm going to divide it a little bit and what I'll do is convert this to parameter and call this fall off. And we're going to multiply this kind of soft edge circle by our star to give us some fall off on the edges of our star. Oh, cool. Awesome. I'm glad that you are enjoying it. Okay, so we need a very small value for this fall off, like 0.003 or something like this will work. And we plug this into our multiply and then plug that into our emissive. And you will see, oh, nothing. Wait. Did I use too many zeros? Probably. Weird. Why doesn't that that should work. That should definitely work. Weird. Okay. Well, let's make this value 1, and then I'll go into the editor and I'll like move it all around. It's doing it from the center. Do I need to flip this? No, right? What's the, okay, start previewing this value. I just want to make sure I'm not doing some crazy stuff. Herm. Okay, well, okay. I do need to flip this. 1 minus. When I did it the other way with the add, it doesn't matter. We need to flip this so that so that we have black on the edges and white in the center, and then we can make some kind of final changes to the to this value to give us the fall off we want. I'm going to save this, and I'll make a material instance. And it's funny, I stared at the way I did it before, and it did not help me at all. I had to fucking it's all good. Right click, material instance, and save all, and come up here to this instance. And if we go to fall off and we ramp this other way, sorry, up, you'll start to see that it gives fall off on the edges here. Now, why this isn't helpful is because I forgot to make this a value of 2. I forgot to change the blend mode to no, it is. Oh, I plugged this this math we did into emissive and not opacity. So if we go back and look for particle color here, we're just going to add the same stuff we've done in all of our other materials, which is our ability to change the particle opacity via the material, or I'm sorry, via the particle system using particle color. We're going to add depth fade. And for those who are joining us a little late here, depth fade just gives us the ability to make the interaction between our particle system and other pieces of geo in our engine a little less harsh where they meet. Instead of a hard cutoff edge, we'll get kind of a soft fade in and out. So we're going to hold S and left click, and we'll name this df_ opacity. I feel like we've done this. This is the 3rd time we've done this today. And then add a value of 1 there, and then we'll copy paste this, and we'll change this value to distance, and we'll make this a value of 100. And we have officially been streaming for 2 hours and 6 minutes, which is awesome. A lot of success for this stream today. We need to plug the particle color in here. And I believe that's all we're going to need for now. So I'm going to save this. And all we're going to do is try to create a kind of a well-timed, like ding, boom, right? Like a flash before the impact kind of effect, or maybe a flash after the impact. Bang, star, or something. I'm not sure yet. We're going to see how it feels. So now this instance is, what is that? It's weird. That's not what it's doing here. Herm. Maybe we need, no, I don't want to clamp it. I don't want to clamp it. Let's try an add. Let's do add negative 0.5. This is a bit it feels like they should be the same, but there's probably some reason why one gives us one result and the other gives us the other. Multiply that times particle color, and that times, I find that to be, oh wait, no, yeah, our texture cores are right. We're doing a fall off. Yeah, weird. Okay, let's save this and see what happens. It should be the same thing. But see, now we don't get the edge. I wonder what that means. Oh, well, but that because the fall off's in the center. That's not the problem. Oh, weird. Okay, how about this? Let's do this instead. Always a solution. Vector length. What if I did a saturate and then I subtracted? That way we don't get repeating edge. It should clamp on the edges. I didn't do this in the other one, so it's weird to me that that's what's happening. Oh, looks like the stream. Oh, or maybe that was just the saving. Looked like the stream got choppy for just a second, but hopefully everything's all right. We need this flip to happen again. Save that. Come on. And let's see if that fixed the edge problem. What is that? Huh. Yowza. I wonder why that does that. Maybe it's the fall off? Huh. As you get larger, you get repeated edge for some reason. That's a new one for me. That's a new one for me. I don't, this has not happened in the past. So maybe what we need is, okay, okay. What if we did this instead? I think maybe the depth fade is doing that. That's interesting. Okay, well, we're gonna fix it somehow. We're troubleshooting. In the star, we're using a fall off. Uh-huh, okay. Let's see if saturate does it after we've done our vector length. That way we don't repeat. There we go. No, man. Whew. Okay, guys, we solved it. That was, I thought that could have been bad. That could have been bad. Okay, so all I wanted to do was, see, we did a good job today, y'all. Like this is not bad at all. We could change the number of particles and all that stuff if we wanted to, but I think we did pretty well. That's pretty good. All I really wanted to do was add in a particle system, much like our center flash that we're getting here. That's gold. I was going to duplicate it, which I'm going to do now. Center flash, not the round one, but just this one. Duplicate, and I'm going to call this one center star. And we're going to add center star to the system. Center star. And save all. It probably looks crazy. Oh, actually, that's not bad. Let's just double the brightness behind. What I wanted to do is add in center star, and maybe delay everything else, or vice versa. Add delay center star, and then flash it after or something. Let's see. Let's see what feels best. So we're going to go into center star, and we're going to use the appropriate material instance. Kind of cool how we haven't used the texture yet. I actually really like doing that and seeing if I can get away with super cheap options. So now star, oh, come on. Come on, load. Compile shaders. Oh, come on, shaders, compile. There we go, star. Bang, right? So what this is doing is fading the star out because the particle color is ramping down, and I don't really want that. What I want, maybe I do, but what I want is to change the size of the particle. So let's add an update, scale, sprite scale, and I always try to use the velocity and forces solver at the end. I want this to scale uniformly, and so I'm going to just do float here and get a vector 2 from a float. So it just puts the same value in x and y. Simplifies this process for me. And then I'm going to turn this singular float into a curve, float from curve, and that way, bang, shrink. Bang, shrink. Right? So the lifetime of this particle is a little too high for what it is I'm looking for. I kind of want, I'll show you what I'm going to try to do, and we'll see if it actually kind of reads that way. Save all. So now we have star in there. And what I wanted to do was come in here to all of these particles and add a little loop delay of 0.1 seconds. And loop delay of 0.1 seconds. Because that's how long the star it lives for, right? That's what we did. Flash center star 1 second or 0.1 seconds. Okay, so we'll do that to all of these pieces to delay them to make room for the star. Bits, dots, and then the star can live on its own. And here come my dogs. They're like, Dad, when are we gonna go hang out? You've been on your computer all day. You see how it's kind of offsetting a little? Okay. we're gonna do the dots too. 0.1. So now we're getting kind of a and what was cool is, or what's cool about this is, Zergling asked me how animation helps with doing, or talked to me about how animation helps with doing visual effects. And one of the things that is big about animation is anticipation, right? There's a moment before everything happens that when you amplify or play up helps to really sell the thing that happens after. So what we're doing is pausing for a moment for our star, and then bang, we get what we need. We get our payoff. I want to make sure the star is happening, so I'm gonna just make this like a crazy value to make sure I see it. Okay, it is happening. Bang. Okay. So I think I need a couple more seconds. Oh, I love dogs. Grew up with them. Oh, cool, Zergling. Yeah. Yeah, you should. I rescued all of my dogs, which I always tell people to do, and I know that's like the, like hipster people are like, oh, I only rescue dogs. Like I don't mean it that way. What I mean is like the couple pups I have, we have 3. They're all rescues. They're all older dogs. They're all, and I actually literally just rescued one like a few weeks ago that followed me home when I was jogging, and I was like, you are on the street, and if I take you to the pound, they're going to leave you in a cage forever. And so I just really like to think of them like friends, and I would never leave my friend in a cage. So we adopted him. So we have a new dog. His name is Mumford, and he's really nice. He's a good friend. He's a good friend. I don't know that this lives for as long as I want it to. There we go. Now we can actually tell it's happening, and it doesn't need to be that big. It can be 500. Bang. Okay. And then we're going to wait 0.2 seconds. I think we did a pretty good job today, y'all. I never know how these streams are going to turn out until, oh, rays are not delayed. 0.2 seconds. Are all the rest of these not delayed? I thought I delayed them. Oh yeah, no I did. Okay, so raise wasn't. So that way we just 0.2 seconds. 0.2 seconds. And we can do this in the particles later if we like what we did here. 0.2 seconds. 0.2 seconds. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. So, so don't delay this emitter, but make its loop duration. Oh, I'm sorry. Make all the other particle emitters loop durations the subtracted amount. Oh, this is awesome, man. I also rescued one. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's cool that they let you take dogs to work, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. Luckily I work from home, and so I get to hang with my dogs every day, and that's how they like it, obviously. But yeah, I think the more you can kind of give dogs a home, the more they're sort of likely to just care about you and love you. Because again, they weren't gonna have one if you didn't. So, flashbang. I like this a lot. Used to work at 2K. They had dogs everywhere. Oh, cool. Yeah. I worked for Visual Concepts for a little bit, which is a 2K studio. Yeah, this is good. I like it. There's a little bit more we could probably do here, but I don't want to go too far. And I know I love hanging with you guys. I just want to make sure I don't take up anyone's whole week or whole weekend. So we're gonna leave it here. I think we could have added a ring and some fire and all kinds of stuff to this, but I think we did a good job here. It's pretty good. There's a bunch of other stuff we could do and optimization and all that, but I think it feels good. Um, you all have to tell me what you think, but thank you for joining me this weekend. I'm always nervous about jumping into the stream, and I never really have a plan, and then the plan kind of goes well, and I always enjoy myself because you all are here. So keep coming back, and oh yeah, day's over anyway. Okay, cool. Yeah, mine is about 2:30 for me, so just really looking to sit and relax for the remainder of the day. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope everyone had a good time. Zergling, I hope your dog search goes well. And Ati, I hope your I guess that's a good question. Ati, how do you pronounce your name? Ati or Ati? Give me a little heads up in the chat for the future, because I know we've known each other for a while now, but I've always had to guess, so I want to know for sure. Um, but yeah, I hope everyone loved this. Every time I do a stream, uh, I'm gonna put the VOD on YouTube. All the patrons get all of the files. So if you're interested in getting this stuff and playing around with the same effect, um, become a patron, and you'll have access to this stuff, and as well as you can ask me questions. Make sure if you're on any of my streams that you join our Discord. It's free, and everybody there is really cool and friendly, and I actually really love that crew a lot. They've been super awesome, and you know we chat every day, and I actually really love that. So I think that looks pretty good, huh? That's not bad. That's not bad for a day's work. Um, A-T. So A-T-I, but it sounds weird in English. Okay. A-T. Okay. A-Tie? A-Tie. So A-T-I. 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 Oh. A-T-I. A-T-I. I think that, and it's German. Yeah, yeah. I know you're out there in Germany. I think ATI is what it sounds like to me. Tell me if I said that correctly. Um, but yeah, looks awesome, bro. Okay, how many days to fully realize the concept? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try to work in a time box kind of way where I'm like, first day is kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what I like, and second day is kind of polishing that stuff and making sure that it's working well, and maybe a third day for optimization, and like if it's going to go into a blueprint or a designer's ability effect or something, like making sure to work with it in the system. It's actually looking at it in game and making sure it works in the system it's going to work in. So no, IT, IT, IT. Okay, IT. I want to say it right, IT. I do. We're friends, so I want to be able to say it right. So I think IT sounds maybe sounds closer to what you're looking for, and I'm not trying to single you out or anything, but I just want to make sure myself and the rest of our friends all have it. So yeah, yes, Attila is the real deal. That's funny. Do you have to make sure it's going to work in all the systems before checking it into Perforce or whatever? Not necessarily. Like at work, um, development is kind of agile, right? Like people are the designer is making the effect, the ability, while I'm kind of doing some preliminary work on making effects that kind of might fit in that. After a meeting or two of us talking, I kind of have an idea of what I should be making, and then there's a kind of a clunky process of throwing it in and seeing how that works, and then talking with the designer about timing and whether or not all the stuff is working out the way it should look, and then polishing after the fact. So it's kind of all happening at once, but the real you don't have to like be so precious that you can't check something in before it's working perfectly, so long as you're not obviously breaking everyone else's assets. You can check stuff in freely and continue to work on it after. So, but yeah, go enjoy your Saturdays. Hit me up on the Discord or anywhere else, Twitter, whatever. If you have any questions, I'm at Let's Make Effects, which is we continue to push forward on all kinds of fronts to give people the opportunity to learn this craft, via mentorships or live courses, which will start up again in February if anyone's interested. I'm doing Twitch streams every Saturday and putting those files out on Patreon and putting the videos up on YouTube. And I'm always available on any of those channels to chat and ask questions and have anybody get involved if they're interested in growing and continuing to nurture this community as we get bigger. So yeah, thanks again for being part of it, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right, bye everyone.